From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the morning news for October 24th, 2025. These are the stories we are reporting at this hour. President Donald Trump said late Thursday that he was ending all trade negotiations with Canada because of a television ad opposing U.S. tariffs that he said misstated the facts and called egregious behavior aimed at influencing U.S. court decisions. The post on Trump's social media site came after Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said he aims to double his country's exports to countries outside the United States because of the threat posed by Trump's tariffs. Trump's call for an abrupt end to negotiations could further inflame trade tensions that already have been building between the two neighboring countries for months. Trump posted the Ronald Reagan Foundation has just announced that Canada has fraudulently used an advertisement, which is fake, featuring Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs. The ad was for $75,000. They only did this to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts, Trump wrote on his social media site. Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the USA, all in caps. Based on their egregious behavior, again, all in caps, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. And I'm telling you, man, if the maple syrup pipeline from Tim Hortons is cut, there's going to be hell to pay. Moving on to other news. The head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers and a player for the Miami Heat were arrested Thursday, along with more than 30 other people in a takedown of two sprawling gambling operations that authorities said leaked inside information about NBA athletes and rigged poker games backed by mafia families. Portland coach Chauncey Billups was charged with participating in a conspiracy to fix high-stakes card games tied to La Cosa Nostra, organized crime families that cheated unsuspecting gamblers out of at least $7 million. Heat guard Terry Rozier was accused in a separate scheme of exploiting private information about players to win bets on NBA games. The two indictments unsealed in New York create a massive cloud for the NBA, which opened its season this week, and show certain types of wagers are vulnerable to massive fraud in the growing multi-billion-dollar legal sports betting industry. Joseph Nocella, the top federal prosecutor for the Eastern District of New York, called it one of the most brazen sports corruption schemes since online sports betting became widely legalized in the United States. An Alabama man convicted of helping to burn a man alive in 1993 over a $200 drug debt was executed by nitrogen gas on Thursday. Anthony Boyd, aged 54, was pronounced dead at 6:33 p.m. at William C. Holman Correctional Facility, authorities said. The execution was carried out by nitrogen gas, a method Alabama began using last year. Boyd was sentenced to death for his role in killing Greg Hughley in Talladega County. Prosecutors said Hughley was set on fire after he did not pay for $200 worth of cocaine. Boyd used his final words to proclaim his innocence and criticize the criminal justice system. "I didn't kill anybody. I didn't participate in killing anybody," he said. "There can be no justice until we change this system," he continued. He said he wanted to express love to those who are still fighting before closing with, "Let's get it." The execution appeared to take longer than prior nitrogen gas executions. The state did not reveal the exact time the gas began flowing. At about 5:57 p.m., Boyd clenched his fist, raised his head off the gurney slightly, and began shaking. He then raised his legs off the gurney several inches. At about 6:01 p.m., he began a long series of heaving breaths that lasted at least 15 minutes before becoming still. The curtain closed to the execution chamber at 6:27 p.m. The prison commissioner said the gas has kept flowing for 5 minutes after monitoring shows the inmate no longer has a heartbeat. A prosecution witness at Boyd's trial testified as part of a plea agreement and said that Boyd taped Hughley's feet together before another man doused him in gasoline and set him on fire. Defense lawyers said he was at a party on the night Hughley was killed and the plea deal testimony was unreliable. A jury convicted Boyd of capital murder during a kidnapping and recommended by a vote of 10-2 that he receive a death sentence. Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall said in a statement that the state remains steadfast in its commitment to uphold the law and deliver justice for victims and their families. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, while the focus for advocacy organization remains on helping victims. Their attention is also on Washington, D.C., because the government shutdown continues to impact organizations across the country, including those who help victims of domestic abuse. Michelle Brown, the executive director of the Domestic Abuse Project of Delaware County, Pennsylvania, said it has been forced to implement a hiring freeze, and it has yet to receive any funds from FEMA, which is used to pay the mortgage for their emergency shelter, which houses more than 30 abuse survivors. She said there has also been no communication with the government agency during the shutdown, leading to growing concerns about how their work could change if the shutdown drags on any longer. The demand is not going away. In fact, it's increasing, while our ability to serve that or have the capacity for that is scarce, Brown said. DAP, or Domestic Abuse Partners Project of Delaware County, is the only provider of services exclusively for victims of domestic abuse in the county. The organization offers services that range from a hotline to counseling as well as legal services. Fortunately, DAP has only had to implement the hiring freeze and has avoided any cuts to services thanks to private donors and other funding sources. But Brown said that could change depending on how long the shutdown lasts. And that's the news at this hour. If you are watching our news videos, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. PEP Radio is available on the Live 365 app, the PEP Radio page at paequality.com, Roku, and Alexa. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.